Okay, YouTubers, space detectives and armchair astronauts, today I've got some new finds for you and a bunch of new Gigapans for you to check out. Now I'm not going to show you all of them, I'm just going to show you a couple of them, and there'll be a load of links below in the description near the top for all the latest Gigapans I've uploaded. I've done about 20 in the last week, and some of them are really large. Most of them are Perseverance rover pans, but there are some Curiosity ones as well, which are really nice. So I'm going to put links to all those in the description for you, because there's a hell of a lot of stuff here to look through, enough to keep you happy for probably a month. So today I'm just going to concentrate on a couple of them, because otherwise we'll be here for hours going through all this stuff. I'm just going to highlight some of the things for you, and I'm sure there are plenty more things I haven't even spotted yet, and I'm sure some of you out there will spot. And this is one of them. Now this is the thing I found a couple of days ago. I found this this thing here, and I put it up on Mars Magazine, ArtAlienTV Mars Magazine here, and I've called it Martian Cat ? Now I don't know if it is a cat or what it might be. Really, it could be almost anything. It looks a bit like a cat, it looks a bit like a dog, it looks a bit like a kind of reptile actually, and people are in sort of two minds of what to call it really, and it looks like yet another animal statue or architectural piece of sculpture, which is probably attached to a plinth of some sort down below, or a building just below it in the sand. Okay, and you can see it pretty clearly. Now what I've done is a left-right comparison here to show that it looks like an animal in both left and right cameras on the Perseverance mass cam, and I've got it here in the Gigapan. This is the right one. This is the left one. You can actually see the background move a bit when I flick from one to the other. I think the left one's slightly better. That's the right one, that's the left one, and enhanced one here. Now this one's had more shadow added to it to make it stand out more, but it doesn't actually add any detail, it just kind of makes it more pronounced. The actual shape, it brings out the shadows underneath here and around here, right? But it's pretty cool. You can get these, match them up and flick between them to check. You can see things behind objects move slightly, just here, where the objects behind are from a different perspective. Okay, that's pretty cool. And what I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to show you a few other things in this Gigapan. Now this is Sol 118, but basically here it is. Now what I've done, I've put that clip on here for you as well, showing the left and right images here. And you can see that the details are pretty consistent in both cameras. You can see a mouth here. If I highlight that, or go over that with the magnifier, you can see this line here, and it's also in this one. See a line, that's the mouth. And we've got these bulbous looking eyes, and they're slightly more pronounced on this one actually. This eye here is very large and bulbous. You can almost see a pupil detail in there. It's pretty vague, right? But I've got it up here in my graphics processor here, and let's go in really close and see what we can see. Basically, this one is slightly clearer for some reason, and you can see that mouth here, right? And this eye is really quite big, as is this one, but we're only seeing that slightly from the side. There's the mouth, just there as I showed before. You can see the mouth. Neck coming down here. This I think is an ear, which is kind of folded like that. The head comes up like this. And there's not a lot of detail here. This is quite a long way off actually from the rover, but I think it's quite large. Now how tall is it? Probably only a foot, maybe a foot and a half at most. It's not that big. And I think this thing here is not a tail. It kind of looks like a tail sticking out, but it's not. I think that's a rock behind this object, because this object comes down like this. That's something behind it, which is probably joined to this over here, right? And on this one you can see that probably a bit more clearly. It's a bit brighter, this one. That looks like a separate object there. Is it a cat? Is it a dog? What is it? Now, it may not be any of those things. We don't really know. I mean, I have shown many animal carvings and animal remains on Mars, not just in this crater but also in Gale Crater. Jezero so far has thrown up about 7 or 8, possibly 10, I would say, animal carvings so far, give or take, and also quite a few remains and things like skulls and petrified remains on the ground as well. And some of them look like dogs, some of them look like cats, some of them look like other creatures that we've never seen before. And this may fall into that category, but it does kind of look a bit like a cat. But the thing is, cats tend to have pointed ears, and a lot of dogs do as well. So who knows? I've got some images up here of cats. Now, what it kind of reminded me of was some of those kind of bald cats, these really ugly hairless cats that you see. Now, if you can imagine this cat here, this one here, but without the ears, or the ears are broken off, then that's almost the right kind of shape. You've got these big bulbous eyes, very pronounced. Cats without hair really look quite disgusting, if you ask me. They're quite hideous creatures, really. When they've got hair on, they look much nicer. So who knows? It may not be either. It actually kind of has a reptilian look to it. Like a turtle or something like that. Who knows? Some people have said it looks more like a reptile, and I tend to agree. But the point is, if this was a cat and it was carved, i.e. a statue, it's highly likely that the ears are broken off, like I've shown on some of the other things in the area, where they don't seem to have ears, or the ears are kind of broken. Some of the other animals I've shown. I would expect it to have ears, but not necessarily sticking up. It could be a dog. Many dogs have floppy ears, so it may be a dog. And a lot of the other animals I've found, I initially thought were cats until we saw them closer up. And I've got some of those up here, like this here. Now, when I first spotted this one here, which I showed in 3D a while back, this one I thought was a cat initially, because it's got those kind of pointed ears, but actually when you see it from the side, like I got here, I've got the left and right here, when you see it from the side, it doesn't look like a cat at all. It looks more like a dog or something else, or something similar to a dog. So they may look like one sort of animal from one angle, but when you see them from the other, they often look more like a dog or something else. So I'm not going to write that down in stone and claim this is a cat or a dog, because I don't know. Weird. So I'll show you on the Gigapan. Basically, there's a few other things in here I want to show you. So I'll get rid of those. And let's have a look at the Gigapan. There's this thing over here. There's the actual animal carving. There it is. Now this is the enhanced version, so it's got a bit more shadow in it, this image, so you can see things slightly better, and they have a bit more definition. And it's right near the bottom here, near the middle, and it's quite dominant. It really stands out in the area. But I would say this is probably only about a foot tall. It could be only 8 inches. It could be 1.5 feet, I don't know, because this is probably zoomed in a long way. So we don't really know the actual size. And there was this other thing on this kind of mound here. You got these 3 objects, probably rocks these are, but this is really weird, this one. Possibly a piece of wreckage or something, I don't know. But it looks like part of something, just here. Very strange. Now this may represent an animal, it may represent wreckage, I don't know. It's hard to say from this kind of range. It's a bit out of visual range, so there's no real detail here, but the shape is very odd. And it stands out on the landscape when you look at it. There's also this thing over here, which also looks very strange. I don't know what this is. I spotted this a couple of days ago and marked it. It's got these parts sticking out. Now this may be partly an optical trick, where this bottom part is actually a different object that's kind of sat next to it, but it looks like it's part of it because it has the same luminosity and very similar shapes. We've got these kind of finger-like things sticking out here. These weird finger-like objects sticking out here, all in a row. Very, very strange. Now, I don't know what that is. It looks like part of something, maybe a part of architecture or wreckage or something else. There's lots of ruined and buried buildings in the area. There are also lots of broken and ruined statues. There are also human and animal remains in the area that I've shown in my recent videos on Perseverance images from the Jezero Crater. So it could be almost anything. I'm not really sure about that. I'll show you a close-up of that in a minute. And there is this thing which I spotted months and months ago, right near the beginning of the mission, up in the background here above this hill at the edge of the crater. I think we're looking kind of south here. This is south down here. And this is sort of southwest here. And we've got this bright looking strange structure up on the mountain, which I pointed out months and months back. But this is a closer view of it. You can't see a lot of detail there, but it really stands out, and that may well turn out to be a structure. And hopefully we may see close-ups of that coming in the next weeks or months. We might get some nice close-ups of this ridge and the edge of the crater here, because there's loads and loads of structures up here, but they're kind of out of visual range because this is miles away from the rover. And I'm really hoping we get some nice close shots of these over here also. These, I think, are structures, but because they're so far away, we can't really make them out, but they look like ruins. 3 ruins together, 1, 2, and 3, possibly 4. They just look like mounds, but a lot of these mounds, as we've seen already, have objects on them like remains and sort of eroded and broken statues and things like parts of walls sticking out and things like that. There's loads of that in the area. So a lot of these are targets that we need to keep an eye on for future images, because these will come up again and again and again, and eventually we may get some nice angles and close-ups of some of these things in the background. So I'm just kind of pointing things out for you to look out for in coming weeks and months, okay? Because we can't see any real detail on these things because they're way too far off. And there is also this here. Now, this looks like a ruined building here, just here. I mean, it really does. And this whole thing looks like a ruined structure here. We've got this kind of wall sticking out. I'll show you with the magnifier. Just here. Got a wall sticking out there. And then part of a structure up here. And then more ruins here. These are ruins. These are not just random rocky outcrops that have eroded. A lot of these are ruined. And I've shown a lot of these from, not only from space, from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, but also from the helicopter drone images as well. I've shown that a lot of these shapes in the ground you can see as actual structures, and you can see the patterns of and the shapes of the buildings from above. Okay, I've got a clip of that here. You can actually see them in this clip I've done here from a recent video, where you can see these patterns in the ground. We've got circular structures, we've got rectangular structures, we've got long walls and stuff going through the sand, buried in sand, and a lot of these are ruins. Okay, I'm not saying all of them are, but a lot of them are. And because of the things that I found on the ground, that confirms that what we are looking at is a ruined city, or at least part of it. And there are buildings all over the place, and they're all very, very heavily buried. And we're only seeing the basic remains of some of the walls, and some of the statues are still intact. And there are odd things on the ground, and but a lot of it is just ruined structures, ancient structures that are ruined and buried, much like you would see in ancient Rome or ancient Turkey or ancient Egypt or something like that. Ancient structures. They're not very sophisticated structures, as far as I can tell. A lot of them are fairly basic, I would say. Not modern, but old stone walls that are literally collapsed and eroded down. And you can see loads of them. And if you don't think there are humans on Mars, well, this is an image I did recently. And this is one here. This image was taken by the Perseverance rover. Okay, that's in a recent video I did. This one, China lands on Mars, but I also go on about this thing here. This is a human. But the weird thing is about this human, or humanoid I should say, is that it's more than twice the size of a human skull. It's twice the height and twice the width and probably twice the depth as well, which would mean that the brain capacity would be really quite enormous. At least 4 times, I would say. So some of them were very large. And I've shown many examples of such things in some of these gigapans and areas on Mars, okay, including this one, which I also showed recently. This is a giant, a similar size from Gale Crater. This is a giant. This is also twice the height of a human skull, twice the width and twice the depth. Very heavy brow. This is fossilized. Very heavy brow, very strange nose shape here sticking out, and you can even see teeth detail in there. But this is all calcified in mud and clay, so some of the details obscured. But these things are everywhere, and I keep on finding them, and no one's been able to really prove me wrong, because I just keep finding them all the time, and I don't have to look very hard, and nor will you, because they're, I would say, in every, not every gigapan, but every second or third gigapan you'll find either a skull or a statue or something, like a building or a wall or some architectural fragments or buildings in the background. You will see something. Not in every gigapan, but every other one maybe. So lots of things to show here. I'm just going to show you these up close. I've already shown you that. That's weird. Now, the point is with this, that does look like an ear, and these are eyes. Here, big bulbous eyes and a mouth and a sort of nose and a chin. The question is, what is it? What does it represent? Does it represent the dog, a reptile, a cat, or something else? And bear in mind that this ear may have come up like this initially, and this one here. So maybe it is a cat. And cats do look kind of reptilian when you take their ears off. Not that I've ever done that, but if you look at it, a cat, and ignore the ears, their actual face itself is really quite weird looking and alien looking. So they've got these kind of weird features, and especially some of these hairless cats, if you ignore the ears, they really are quite ugly and quite alien looking. Okay, so who knows? I mean, some of them really look quite nasty as well. Weird, really weird creatures. So there we are. I'll show you these close-ups very briefly before we go. And there's that thing that was on the sort of mound in the background. Now, I'm not sure what these objects are. They're probably just rocks, but this thing here is very odd. It sort of goes under there. I think there's a shadow coming across it here. It goes under that thing, like that. And it's got this detail here. Very strange. And there's a part there, and a part there. This may represent an animal that's broken also. It may do. There are lots of them in the area. I mean, that could represent an eye there, and a head, and a sort of body coming back here. Who knows? It could be almost anything. But we shouldn't expect to understand everything we see, especially from this distance, because it's too far away really to confirm either way what it is. And even when we get up close to a lot of these things, we can't really confirm what they are because they're so broken and eroded, and they may represent creatures and things that we don't know about. So a lot of them are just really strange objects, and we will probably never know what they are. This is the foot thing, or the thing with the fingers on it, whatever it is. Really interesting. This looks like a piece of wreckage, because this is really straight here. Let's make that a bit thinner. Very straight there. We've got a sort of bulbous bit on the end. This is also straight. There's a bit sticking up there. And then we've got this part at the bottom here. It's a bit more regular. So that may be a separate object there. But it seems to have the same limit. It looks kind of joined, but I'm not sure. There's a bit of a line coming down there. And then we've got these weird sort of details on the side here, and there's something coming up like that. Just to there. Very strange. So that looks like a separate object there. But what would those arm parts or fingers sticking out represent? I really don't know. Very strange indeed. And it's quite reflective. I'm not sure if it's metallic or not. When you these images are quite bright already. When you brighten them, they go really kind of reflective like this. So I'm not really sure whether that's metallic or not. It's probably not, I would say. Be a lot brighter than that if it was. it's very strange. I've no idea what it is, but it looks like something intelligently designed and made, and looks like part of something that's broken or buried. And this may go right down into the ground. Who knows? There may be all sorts of things underneath it. We don't know, unfortunately. So it would be nice to actually dig some of these areas, because some of these things are really, really interesting. And I'm sure this, like that other dog type thing I showed earlier, and the other dogs and cat type things I've shown, I'm sure a lot of these are actually attached to some kind of plinth or structure below, like this, you know. And there are ruins buried in this ground all over the place. So this may be on top of a building or remains of a building or something. Who knows? But the way they stand out is really odd. They really dominate the landscape. And the way they sort of stick up out of the ground says to me that this is probably attached to something that's going right down in here, a structure. And this may also be part of that structure over here, sticking up. This looks weird. I don't know what it is. It doesn't look like anything in particular, but it's not far away from this, and it's adjacent to it and may be attached to the same structure underneath, okay, which may also be attached to this. So a lot of these things we're seeing in rows are actually parts of the same structure or wall or building, and we're just seeing the last bits that are showing when the rest of it's being buried in sand. So there we are. There's another Gigapan I was going to show you actually, which I only uploaded the other day. I'll show you it really quickly. I'll link to all these anyway, all these new ones at the top here. And here it is. This is the lizard that I did show before. I've done a nice Gigapan of it. This is a fossilized lizard. This is from Gale Crater. This is Curiosity rover. Rover, different crater. And here it is. This area is full of rich bicarbonate minerals which preserve things perfectly in a sort of salt. And when these animals went in the lake to have a swim or a drink and then died, they would have been preserved perfectly, and then that would have crystallized. Within a matter of days, they would have crystallized in these minerals and then basically turned into a fossil in a matter of months, rather than years or thousands of years or millions of years. It's a very, very fast form of fossilization. It's a kind of salt mummy turning into a fossil, because basically the salt crystals form on it and harden and suck all the moisture out of the creature, and then it goes rock hard within a matter of days, and then fossilizes very quickly, mineralizes. So that's what it is. It's a lizard. You can actually see this is the nose here. There's an eye just there, and another one there. You can just about make out. There's one eye. That's where the other one is. Just there. But it kind of looks like a rock. But this is what happens with this type of fossilization. You can see a part of a leg sticking out there. So this is an interesting one. There's lots of detail in here. Lots of really good detail. Close-up detail in colour. This is raw. I haven't enhanced this at all. The only enhanced part is on this clip here. So that was interesting. That was Sol 1489. And there's a couple of other Gigapans I wanted to show you. But basically what I'll do, I'll put links to all these in the description. And a lot of them are the same Gigapan, but from different viewpoints, either left or right camera. Some are enhanced, and most of them are raw, okay? Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll put some clips in coming up in a second. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I shall see you soon.